All right, Mike, so how in the world did an Amish boy start a $1 million drone company?
Well, it's a long story. I've always been into RC, airplanes, boats, trucks, anything that you could move with a remote. I probably got into it when I was 6 or 7, when I got my first RC toy. So growing up Amish, we did not have modern amenities. We didn't have cell phones, TVs, electric in our house. We didn't have any of that. It was very plain, simple is how we lived our life. My life was great. It was plain and simple. In any type of culture, there'll be small issues. Grew up on a farm, had milking cows, had 40 horses at one time that we had to take care of. A lot of work, but I wouldn't change it. That's really what made me who I am, is getting up in the morning, having chores to do first thing before you went to school. And then when you got home from school, you didn't just go in, hang out on the couch. You had to go do chores, get hay down for the cows or feed the horses. There's always something to do. This is how we used to work up the fields. Our houses were real simple on the inside. We didn't have electricity. You couldn't just turn on a light. Our lights were either kerosene lights, you lit a little wick, and then you would have light like that. You see how smoky they get if you turn them up too much? Or we had these lights that you put clear gas in them and you put pressure in it and you lit a mantle, the thing would like burn and stuff like that. It was very simple, for sure. Would I want to go back to that? Probably not. But when I look back at it, it was really cool. It's a simple way of living. If the grid goes down, like I've had my house go out of power, you don't even think about it. You just keep on going just like you've been going before. Refrigeration back in the day, we had ice boxes. There's a company, Millersburg Ice, used to bring a truck out with big chunks of ice. They would chop it off and they'd put it in an ice box. And then in that ice box is where we put our food to keep it cool. It wasn't plugged into the wall or anything. It was like you just put this big chunk of ice in there and then that ice kept this stuff cool in there. And you know what's crazy about that is when the Iceman would come in the summertime, he would always chunk off some little like chunks like this big and he'd throw it out the window for the children. I'm not kidding. That was actually a thing.
The Iceman.
Yep, and then we would go pick it up, wash it off, and then we could suck on ice. Crazy.
So when you had to make a phone call, how would you actually make phone calls?
We had like little phone shacks at the end of our driveway or at the end of a neighbor's driveway. It'd be like a phone booth, but not like phone booth. Obviously, the neighbors use it a lot. There's a walking path. There's probably 3 or 4 different neighbors right here that use this. You got a battery, they're running this thing off of solar. This is where you go to make your phone calls for the day. So don't expect me to pick up the phone if you're calling. Here's another little phone booth out in the middle of this field. They're kind of just spread out all over the place, and then the neighbors figure out who's allowed to use it and stuff. Pretty cool.
Anywhere that you went, it was either walking, biking, or...
So biking wasn't that popular back then. It was either walking or taking a pony and cart, or riding a pony, or riding a horse, or whatever is how we got to places. That's like a minivan buggy. I'm not joking. So you got a minivan buggy and then you just got a normal buggy. Minivan buggy has like quite a few seats for the people to have their children with them. It's called a surrey. Going to school was you either walked to school. For my school, it was like 2 miles, or you took a bicycle or pony and cart. We used to use a pony and cart to go to school. Did that for 7 years until one day our pony was no longer with us. Kind of sad, but it was truly a sad day when our pony died. We only go to 8th grade in Amish school, usually. There are Amish nowadays that will go farther than that, but Back in the day when I went to school, all Amish children only go to 8th grade education. You get a diploma that you went to 8th grade, but never a high school diploma. You learn the basics, don't really learn a whole lot of history, math, and just common type of things that you would use in your real life. When I drive down this road, you can't not think of going to school here. Basically every Amish schoolhouse has a ball diamond. Softball is a big deal. That's what you play at recesses. This little barn down here, this is where we kept our pony. You'd unhitch the pony and cart, leave the cart outside, put the pony in here. Our pony's name was Rocky. He was with us for a long time. We used to have a water fountain there, and everybody would get water out of the same fountain. You'd stand in line, and then you drink a little, and then you go up. This is where you put your lunch bucket when you walk in first thing in the morning. Amish school is a one-room schoolhouse. Everybody from 1st grade to 8th grade is in the same room. Isn't it little? Everybody is in here at the same time. Anybody from 1st grade to 8th grade. They upgraded these. This used to be blackboards, so you had to use chalk. The golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That's been there forever. Usually it's split into 2 sections of the room. One section over here is for the upper grade, and if I remember correctly, that is 4th grade to 8th grade, and then the lower grade is from 1st to 3rd on the right, and they'd have a table, and that class would go up front. They'd learn their stuff while all other students are in the room. You would learn your lesson up there and you'd come back. You did that while all the other distractions of school is going on inside of there. When I graduated 8th grade, I was 13 and a half years old. Basically got out, and that summer I started my first job. I was a landscaper. I helped install yards at new homes, right to the grind basically. Up early in the morning, go to the shop, get the tools together, and out in the field we go. I believe I was 13 and a half or 14 years old when I had my first job. Basically, I would say when I was growing up that all Amish children learned how to work. Everybody at that time grew up on farms. Now it's not like that. The farms have kind of slowly gone away, but back then you learned how to work. And if you didn't work, you got punished because there's a lot of work to go around.
Have you always been a big hunter your whole life, or?
My dad never hunted, but my uncles did and my grandpa hunted, so I always wanted to become a hunter. I was probably 13 when I got my first crossbow. My dad bought my first crossbow. Started hunting, really enjoyed it, and then just tried getting better at hunting. When you become 16, that's when you rumspringen. You are allowed to dress different like English people do, and you can go out with your buddies. I didn't really get into it, doing parties and stuff like that. You get to experience the world, is how some people might say it. When I was 16 is when I started dressing different and experiencing the modern technology type of things.
So rumspringen is a period from 16 to?
I would say it's probably between 16 to 20 is what most guys, gals do to see if that's something they like or not. I'd say most of them go back to their Amish ways and become Amish and live that lifestyle. When you're 18, right, your parents don't sign off to go get your driver's license because they don't want you to do that. So you have to wait till you're 18 to be able to get your driver's license. So when you're 18, that's when most of the people go out and buy cars or trucks or whatever they want. When you're at that 16-year age, we started watching movies and entertainment. We had this shack, we call it a shack, the hunting shack, or the TV shack. This is exactly where ours was, but basically where the fire pit is now, that's where our little shack sat. So basically we had a bunch of buddies and friends put money together. We bought a big TV. We got on a subscription like Dish Network, I think is what we used back then. And then everybody would just pay a little bit a month to come to the TV shack to watch TV. It was like this big, and there were times when we had maybe 10, 12 guys in here. They upgraded to a bigger shack now, But yeah, this is what a shack looks like. You definitely gotta have a Trump flag. They really did a nice shack. Dude, they even got lighting. You see that little lighting? This is a nice shack. This is an upgrade of what we used to have. I think they got like an Xbox.
How did he power the TV in the shack?
That was run off of main power. That because it wasn't on the property of the Amish home, then there is allowed to be power to it. That's when I started really getting into video content. Before that, I had a video camera, but never got good at it until I started, watching some of that stuff. I was like, man, I want to do that. Yeah, I met Jared at a outdoor show. He was in his season 2 of producing Whitetail Adrenaline. Bought a couple of his videos and started watching his videos and just enjoyed the realness and the raw, unscripted type of content that he was producing. I really became a fan of what he was doing. Then I was like, I gotta figure out how I can be a part of this. Nobody else is doing it. It's a style that I wanna do myself. This isn't recommended how I did this, but back when Jared was just starting out his online store, he had his PayPal connected to the online store, and I placed an order and then disputed the order with PayPal. And when I did that, I was able to get the owner of the PayPal account's phone number, and I text Jared and I was like, hey, enjoy the content or whatever. I would like to sell your DVDs in our area. If he'd want to send me some, I'll distribute them in our local, small hunting stores.
The lengths that mankind will go to get your attention.
So that's how we started. We just kind of started talking like that. He did send me videos. I put them in the local hunting stores and they were impressed with them. Having more conversations with Jared, bought a camera like Jared did to really, show him that, dude, I'm trying to do what you do with the same camera. One day I was like, you know what, I'm gonna ask him, hey, if you need any help out in Kansas, let me know. I'd be willing to come out and help you. And he took me up on it.
You were, I believe, the first person outside of people that were, buddies of mine that were within the DLR that ever came in and filmed.
Oh yeah?
I'm thinking about it. Yes.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, I just thought about that. Yeah, no. I didn't have anybody stepping in that did it for a living or filling in. I mean, it was just buddies grabbing cameras.
Yeah.
You're the first, now that I'm thinking about it.
Well, that's cool.
What? I was pretty, you know how I was back then. It needed to be filmed a certain way and all that.
Yeah, and that's why your production is what it is the quality has to be there. If you guys have never seen Whitetail Adrenaline, make sure to check him out. It is insane quality production. And when I came out there, I believe that he seen that I was really kind of a go-getter and wanted to do good behind the camera. I think I went with him for 7 years, consistently for 7 years, filming stuff. A lot of stuff that I filmed for him hasn't been released because it was elk hunting. Me and him aimlessly walking around in the mountains, learning how to elk hunt. Yep.
Hey, for the record, Resurgence, the latest one we have out on iTunes and Amazon, you recorded me longbow shoot that one. A lot of people don't know that.
Yep.
You recorded that.
Yep, I did. Jared Jeffler from Whitetail Adrenaline. If you guys haven't, make sure to check out his stuff. It is, my opinion, the best high quality, unscripted hunting videos you can watch. I got married when I was 20 years old. I wanted to build stories, film stories or content stories. I was still helping Jared when I was married. During that time, I think I was married for about 3 years. I started a tree company called Anywhere Tree Care, started that company and slowly had to back off on going out west with Jared as much because I had a business, I had a young family, and I was trying to film with Jared. So I didn't go with Jared as much throughout the year when I got married, but it was still something that I have passion to do is to build these stories. Unfortunately, the last 3 years, I didn't go with Jared at all because it just doesn't work with having a business and a family.
You mentioned Anywhere Tree Care, what it was like to start that business and how you hustled at the beginning.
Yeah, so that was really a hustle as well. I started in a Ford Focus. I had climbing gear and 2 chainsaws, and basically I didn't have a name. It was just Mike Yoder, and I was knocking on people's doors. Hey, do you need your trees trimmed? I'll give you a great deal. I'll trim your trees. And I had a Ford Focus. What was I gonna do with all the brush and stuff I'm trimming? So basically what I did is I did a whole street. I knocked on everybody's door, trimmed all their trees on that street, got all the brush on the ground, and then come Friday, I would rent a truck and a chipper. I would build a chip box on the truck that I rented from Hertz Rental. Then I would go and ship everything up. And you want to talk about being whooped, because not only did I trim all the trees myself, I cleaned everything up myself to get going, try to get some cash flow going. That's how I started. Bought my first little chip truck. Looked horrible. It was a pretty old, beat up truck, and slowly started building it. Brought some business partners in, came up with a name, really started branding it. From there, it turned into Anywhere Tree Care and is what it is now. My whole goal with Anywhere Tree Care was to be quality in our area, is to be professional, quality, and safety. And we really changed the whole industry in our area to where other companies actually had to step up their safety and how they looked. It is very successful, what I've built and how we've got it to where it is. When I say we, I have had business partners help me with it. It definitely changed the tree service in our local area, was the professionalism and the quality of service that was provided. Before I started my own tree company, I was working for another tree company, being paid very well. I wouldn't had to quit at that tree company, but I wanted to have something that was, I could say, was my own. During that time, he was paying me well enough that I invested that money into getting my pilot's license. I really wasn't doing other sports like playing softball and stuff like that, like I did in the past, so I used the money and invested it and got my pilot's license. It was so great. That's the best thing I've ever done. It's super convenient. Was able to fly all across the country, experiencing things.
Just landed here at Shenandoah Valley Airport. Check it out. Pretty neat in here.
Going from an 8th grade educated boy to being able to actually get my pilot's license, it was kind of a big deal for me. So I started flying, and I wanted to create a YouTube channel where I see if I can monetize it.
Why did you want to create a YouTube channel?
Just to get views and see if you can get money from Google, basically, is what it was. I wanted to see. It's hard. Building a YouTube channel is the hardest thing I've ever done. You can get followers on Facebook, Instagram, but to get people to subscribe on YouTube is just something, it's weird. You consume the content all day long, but to hit that little red button, like, it doesn't even cost you anything. It doesn't cost you anything, but it's something about hitting that red button that's hard for people to do. I mean, how many people do you subscribe to that you watch that you're like, that's cool, but you don't subscribe to them? So it's hard to get people to subscribe, and I was like, I'm gonna do it because it's a challenge. And on my Ultralight Airplane Driver channel, I said, you know what? I'm going to consistently do it for a year and see what happens. And by being consistent and pushing and creating content, I achieved the goal. I was able to monetize in a year, and basically I did that. I was like, okay, I done did it.
Where did the idea for drone deer recovery come from?
It came from me hitting most of my goals in YouTube, as far as, like, I had a channel and I was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I hit that goal. Anyway, Tree Care was doing great. I hit all the goals that we had done there, but really it goes back to while I was doing Anywhere Tree Care, I injured my back picking up a big old log, and I was down that I did that, right? And I was always in pain. I actually started drinking a lot. I drank way more than a guy should. I would say I turned into an alcoholic. And so I was down, I was depressed. There's nothing that motivated me to go and do more at that time. It was like I'd made more money than I ever have, had a business, had a house, had a family, had all the things, but I wasn't happy where I was at. And one day I was laying on the floor with my child, and Jared called me. He's like, "What's up?" I'm like, "I don't know what's up." Like, he could just tell that I was down. And I told him what I'm dealing with, and he said, "Dude, I just came through something like that." And me and him talked for like an hour that night on the phone about, how he worked through it and stuff. But basically, I was like, you know what? I have to start doing something for myself and something that motivates me again. And I started praying to the Lord that he would give me new dreams, new visions, like something that really gets me going inside. And it was drones. So I was with a buddy one day, and we were talking about thermal drones, doing thermal drone roof inspections. And I told him that I'm thinking about getting a thermal drone to do deer. And he's like, "I think it'd be a great idea." So I bought a cheap one, did some testing, seen it's gonna work, went on a family vacation in Florida, and I was down there praying, like still thinking of all this thermal drone stuff, like how am I going to make this a thing? And somewhere in Florida, it just came to me, drone deer recovery. And I was like, that's it. It was like almost like a download, like you can't undo it. Drone deer recovery, that's it, I'm going with it. Went home from Florida, started thinking about it more and more, drone deer recovery. Met you, Kevin, at a coffee shop. You were actually just coming out of a failed business. And here comes this crazy guy, asks you, "Hey, do you wanna do the thing?" But yeah, so that's how we got to where we're at now. Currently with drone deer recovery, we have 26 operators in 15 different states. We're selling drones all across the country. We are obviously monetizing this type of content on YouTube, doing quite well. We appreciate the support that you guys have given us. Where I see drone deer recovery going is there will be operators all across the country to where you as a hunter will have an app on your phone, just like Uber. You request the drone deer recovery, that request gets sent to an operator, and then that operator gets in touch with you and is able to come out and help you recover your deer for you. That is the future. We're moving in that direction. It's going to take a lot of development and money, but I believe that's where we're gonna be, is on your phone, in your pocket, drone deer recovery. Bigger industries using drones, we will be getting into that. We could probably say it's in the ag side of things, but it's going to be bigger than just ag. It'll be for the hunting community as well, because it's not just for agricultural type stuff.
The part that's most fascinating to me, Mike, is how does somebody who grew up Amish have a worldview that's big enough just to be like, "Oh, I could go do that," and you give it your best shot and go do something that a lot of people would be afraid of taking a shot at?
I don't know, I think it's just the go-getter attitude in me. Like, I've done a lot for how young I am to see where I came from. Like, basic life things that is taught in Amish is not be so modern. Well, I've got my pilot's license. I've had multiple different licenses in the state. Stuff that most people don't do. Like an insurance adjuster. I was a public insurance adjuster, went and got that license, got my pilot's license, boating, all that type of stuff. Things I've done is just, I've always wanted to do more. I don't know if I should say this, but it's like they tell you to be humble, appreciate what you got. You don't always need more. I don't feel like that's like the Lord doesn't want you to just have what you got. Like it's okay to have more. I don't know if this will make the cut or not, but that is how I feel. Like they teach that. Like be humble. You don't need all that.
What has made you a go-getter?
I'd say it's bred into me. My dad's dad basically worked himself to death, owned all kinds of farms, worked from morning till night, work in the fields, milking cows, just go. My dad did the same thing. It was hard for my family in the beginning to have any money. My mom and dad both worked in timber. My mom drove the skidder. My dad did the actual cutting of the trees. So it's a part that's in our family that you just work. Like if you can't figure something out, then work and figure it out, because that's the only way it's gonna get done. So I would say it's really just generation after generation, working was what you did.
Any message you want to leave me, the viewer, with?
Make sure to hit the subscribe button because the growth that's already happened, I only see it going up from here, and I'd love for you guys to join us, watch us, and see where we go. Appreciate it, and we'll see you on the next one.